today, I kind of wanted to dive into a question that I feel like I'm getting asked more and more, and it's a common question. It's a question I've asked myself, and that is, how do we raise our prices, or how do we get more value out of our projects, or how do we get unstuck from a certain price point? And I think in the creative services business, whether you're an audio producer, a video producer, photographer, a consultant, a manager, or anything of the likes, we get stuck to a certain price point and we feel like we're growing beyond that and we don't really know how to get past that. So when we think about, raising our prices, this isn't just to get a higher price or to trick someone or to make more money. So I want to make sure I set the groundwork here with a thought process that I've kind of arrived on that I feel like has helped me add value to myself, to my partners, and to really just grow my business from a place that feels comfortable and it doesn't feel icky. And the idea comes from a book called The Go-Giver, and it has this idea of, your compensation is matched by the way that you solve problems. The basic idea is the way that we solve problems is the value that we offer to our partners. So what does that mean? It means that when we're approaching creative services, sometimes we're thinking about the art. And I think that makes sense. For a long time, that's where I was stuck. It's like, I'm making art, I want to make beautiful art, and people will pay me for my art. The truth of the matter is that can be a little bit selfish. Where things started to change for me was when I started to look at things more objectively. And what I mean by that is asking the questions, the difficult questions that come with producing a project. When I'm being a DP, I'm thinking as a cinematographer. I'm thinking about making beautiful light, creative things, and there is inherent value to that. However, it's not always something that my clients are gonna understand, and it's almost talking too technical. Instead, if I put on my producer hat and I'm thinking more as a partner of like, what's the information I need to really guide a project? This subtle shift makes a big difference in being a problem solver. If I come to my clients and I take the time to not just get a price on paper and think about all the pretty things that make something, but ask them, what does this project mean to you? What problems do you have to solve? And maybe they have this answer, maybe they don't. That's what being a good partner looks like to me, and that's what ultimately has kind of raised the price for us. In the previous years, I feel like we are leaving a lot of money on the table. We pitch a lot of projects and we get negotiated down really hard, and I get frustrated, and at times I would blame our clients, but the reality is it was falling on me. And I didn't really start to change this until I started asking myself, where are we not communicating our value? And we weren't communicating our value up front. Because a lot of times our clients would come on set, they'd have this great experience working with us, and they'd say, oh, we see why you charge so much money now. And it wasn't a diss at us or anything like that, but it was more so they understood our process better. And I understood that, I wasn't expressing the value of our process and what that does for the creative, rhythm of working through a project. So now when I take on a client, I slow things down a lot more. I ask a lot more questions. I get to know them and I truly develop a relationship with them so they understand a little bit about me and I understand a little bit about them. A good rule of thumb is just to listen more than you speak. When you listen more, you learn more. When you learn more, you can actually solve problems a lot better and you're speaking more of a common language. So when we're going into, a new client relationship or even a past client relationship, think about what is my value? What problem do I solve? And how do I solve it uniquely well? I'm not trying to compete with anyone else. I'm trying to compete with how do I add the most value to my partner? When I come from that place, that shows that my intention is true, that we are building a long-term relationship, and that the stakes are on both parties. It's not just give me the money and I do the thing and I hand it over to you, and if it fails, it fails. I have a very clear understanding that if this video doesn't get results, what is going to be the outcome? Are you going to point the finger at me? How are we going to set the objectives together? What are the results of this video? What do we really need? Like, before we get to the price point of a project, it's looking at how are we going to work together? Do you want someone who's going to come in and do all the work for you? Do you want someone who's going to do the work with you? Are you someone that wants to DIY this and you just want a consultant? And then thinking about in your own business model, do you check the boxes in all those areas? Are some of them no-goes? That's how we vet clients and make sure we're a good fit. Understanding our unique value is so much more than a price on a piece of paper or a day rate or a project rate or anything like that. If I'm looking at the video production industry, a common thing that you'll see with producers is the line item everything to run the price up to get the higher ticket project. That's not creating more profitability. That's that's creating more revenue, but it's not necessarily adding value either. You know, I'm not gonna say that tools and gear and people don't add value, but I think it's also learning to meet our clients where they are. So applying all this into a pricing structure, it's also important to ask what budget is there to solve this problem. Budget's always really intimidating for many creatives. I'm not gonna say all, but a lot of people really struggle with that. But asking what is a healthy budget? You know, when we're thinking about building out packages, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I can think back to a time in my career when we were stuck in like the $500 to $1,500 video range. For a long time, you know, I was really frustrated because I was like, I feel like we're in that $6,000 range, but I don't know how to get there. One big thing that played a big role was going from giving a singular price and a singular option. A lot of times we had this perfect picture in our head of what a project looks like. So it's like, oh, this is a $5,000 video. What if I put that $5,000 video out there and they say no to it? Then I don't get anything. There's nothing wrong with giving options. I kind of look at this as competing against myself. So we always use a tiered option because ultimately it's like, I would love for you guys to see what the big picture, big vision could be of working with us as a partner. But also here's a more traditional campaign. Here's something that's our sweet spot, what we do all the time. And then also here's a third version that's maybe more stripped down. Yes, it's not as exciting for us. Maybe there's not as many problems to solve, but it's more about building a relationship. So even when we're thinking about who is this partner, who is the person that we're pitching to, how do we present that to them to where they can say yes and we can feel good about the yes one way or another? Maybe you're stuck at that $1,500 price point and it's like, I can still do the $1,500 video, but I'd love to see what a $5,000 video looks like. And I'd love to see what a $10,000 video looks like. This isn't about getting more money. This is about lifting your potential. This is about making an educated decision. It's about creating a mutual win for both parties. Where is my value at? Am I communicating that clearly enough and well enough for them to make a good decision on whether I'm the right partner for them? It's about earning that value. It's about communicating that value, and it's about getting partners and projects that we're actually excited about. When I think about the partners that we work with, it's partners that we solve problems with together. I know this is just a short little glimpse of this. You know, this could be a 2-hour conversation on this, but I wanted to give kind of a high level picture. And I think if there was a key takeaway, I think it's spending time thinking about where is our value at? And if we want to get a higher compensation for that, we need to think about the way in which we solve those problems. And a simple question to ask yourself is like, what is the next step for me? What is the biggest hurdle in front of me? And if I can figure that out, then I can make that baby step towards that. And I can start getting the projects that I want, that I deserve, and that I so desperately want to land and secure. You know, pricing can be very overwhelming. It can be very tricky. Ultimately, I think when we think through this a little bit more intentional and strategically and from a place of both parties wanting to win, it actually works in both parties' favors and it becomes a lot more natural and a lot less awkward than what we're really thinking. If you have questions, you know, feel free to DM me, you know, reach out to me via email, anything like that. I'm gonna continue to make more videos around these types of subjects and have conversations like this. So if there's something else you'd like me to dig into more, just let me know. All right, hopefully that was helpful. We will see.